Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff, and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? I'm going to introduce my guest. As always, whenever I have a guest on, I'm not going to go through and say hello to everybody, but I will flash your comments up to recognize that you're here. Okay, all good. Robyn, what about you, chum?
How you doing, 40? It's nice to talk to you again. Hi, everyone in the chat as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a very nice regular crowd here. They're all good people. Someone like Sanson pretend to not be here. He's probably still finishing off his last show. We'll come on to that in a moment. But very, very glad to have you here. I'm just going to do this for a second. And I would say the audio is working, which is always good. And also a big welcome to anybody that's come over from Robyn's crew. Glad to have you aboard, and I hope you enjoy it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of housekeeping to do. It's going to take us a couple of minutes. So we'll do that. Right. First off, big welcome to everybody that's arrived here from Sanson and Toffee earlier on. If you like their stuff, if you like my stuff, you like their stuff. So if you're not watching that, you're probably missing out. On Sunday with Ragnar Ironspear at 7 p.m., they have James Hayworth on as a guest. John Davison is streaming mostly on, I believe, Tuesdays and Fridays, whenever he feels up to it. And also, there's the Dave's Waffle House every weeknight at 8:30. It's a good place to hang out, have a bit of chat, and it's all very nice and chilled. Robyn, I know that you collaborate with a bunch of people. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, most definitely. I stream a lot to Cafe Lockout, and they're all over the place, apart from YouTube, because YouTube, they have community guidelines and standards, which Cafe Lockout don't fit in with. But we stream on Rumble, and my fellow West Australian Independent Media Group members, which is Scorpion Media Group, Max Freedom, and the Fearless Prophet. And a special shout out, I'm glad you said that. Today we have a young lady in Australia. She's turning 17 today, and she has been refused life-saving transplant because she refuses to participate in the experiment. And so she's in hospital, and it's her 17th birthday today, Miss Dazzle. So a huge happy birthday to her.
That is mad.
Yeah.
That is. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
At least after the 20-minute mark. Whenever YouTube has calmed down a little with the things, we are definitely going to come back to that.
Yeah.
But it's really not a first subject thing.
No.
Yeah, let's try to let the stream stay up for
Yeah.
entirety of it. The,
Yep.
the really interesting thing with YouTube is the first 20 minutes are very strict.
Yeah.
Uh, from 20 minutes to 60 minutes, they're somewhat strict. And
Mhm.
after an hour, you can say pretty much whatever the fuck you want in a live stream.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
my live streams on YouTube, I don't do them very often because of that very reason. So yeah, I have to be very very creative on YouTube when I do my videos.
Yes. Yes. Oh, but I'll tell you what we can talk about. We can talk about Cafe Locked Out
Mhm.
because I was Al Mac, who produced the Harmony Melody and Rhyme and all the stuff that I do with Justice King. I got a message from him today, and the Justice King album, Mercury is Rising, is going to be going on Cafe Locked Out very shortly.
Fantastic.
Yep, and also there's another album that Justice did with quite similar content, Dystopia Myopia, and I believe it's going to be going on to that platform as well, which I'm quite delighted about. I never in a month of Sundays did I ever envisage I would be involved with music that's going to literally the other side of the world, but there you have it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a big fan um, of the tunes you guys have done together, and yeah. So Cafe Lockdown's created what's called Culture, spelt with a K,
Mhm.
and it's for liberated artists because, of course, over the past few years. Well, what should I start with? The music industry is controlled. We know
Yeah,
that, and artists with messages that don't fit into the narrative, of course, you know, they they're not put out there. They just don't get the exposure. So Cafe Lockdown's created Culture, and yeah, providing a platform for liberated artists, as Michael, the creator of Culture, Michael puts it. And so yeah, there's a lot of tunes up there right now that people can purchase, and it supports not only the artist's work, and it's not just songs; it's also painting, artists, writers, poets, all those sorts of things. It supports their work, not only to get their message out there, but also monetarily, because of course, all of these large platforms really don't compensate the artists sufficiently, by any stretch of the means. So Culture also does that too, which is fantastic.
yeah, totally agree with you. How controlled the arts are is actually quite astounding,
Hmm.
and you can't really get. Oh, yeah. So Emma G saying Al Mac did say he was going to be in the chat. He'll arrive sooner or later. I would say he's probably having a little bit of red wine because he's not giggling tonight. What's happened with him? What's happened with Al is the bands that he normally plays with. A lot of their concerts, a lot of their gigs have shut down, not because they can't find an audience or the music isn't appreciated, but because with their live musicians, they tend to go out do gigs on a Saturday night, and the venues can no longer afford to bring in the artists because oh, he's here. They can't bring in the artists because they're not getting enough footfall at the venues because everybody's skint because the government has fucked up the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a disgrace.
it is. So the bit that they were getting from all the concerts and whatnot, that's going. The amount of live venues that are taking on musicians are put, putting on live entertainment has reduced, and when we moved to this subscription model, it obviously works okay for the very big artists, but
Mhm.
for the independents, not so much at all. Uh,
Mm.
the amount of streams you actually need to have on a subscription model to get any money whatsoever is way past what an independent with a small audience is going to get.
Isn't it ironic that, when everybody had to stand 1.5 meters apart, or, and all the
Yeah,
venues shut down, I mean, the arts really suffered, and we all heard about that. But there's no talk now about the fact that people struggle to be able, even if there are gigs on, people struggle to attend them because of the cost of living. Nobody can afford to do anything. It's the
yeah.
struggle just to do your food shopping, let alone enjoy yourself at a gig once in a while.
It what's really crazy is the the amount of people I know that pre-pandemic, none of these people were rich. They were doing okay. Like they weren't panicking walking around the supermarket. Uh, they weren't panicking paying their rent, their mortgage, whatever. They were getting by, and maybe they went out once a month, once every other month. They had a modest holiday a year, and now they're finding they can't do any of that because
Hmm.
uh, 40, sorry, 42 takes 10% back from every Tesco advert. Oh fuck! I wish. I, I did. I did get one of Tesco's advertisements changed, banned, stopped quite a while ago. But there is that. That's my only interactions with Tesco's. Uh, yeah, they had quite the sexist advertising, and I well, here's the interesting thing. Right? For anybody that's involved in activism, what you want to do is you need to kick the bottom brick, right? So what Tesco's did was they in every large store they put in a community organizer.
Hmm.
So you could go along with your local charity or whatever, and they would promote you and whatnot, and they gave the person so you could go and interact with this person, and they put out an advertisement for fish cakes, and the premise of the advert is this woman had made fish cakes out of Tesco's tuna. They were her husband's favourite. He'd done something minimally wrong, so she made the favourite fish cakes but didn't give him any
Okay.
as punishment, right? That'll teach him. Tesco's thought that would be a good advertisement. And I went along and got a meeting with the community organizer from my local Tesco's,
Hmm.
and done out a document and explained how actually withholding food from somebody is coercive controlling behaviour, it's domestic abuse. Uh, I really don't think it belongs in your advertisements, and if that was a man doing that to a woman, you really wouldn't think about doing and whatnot. Um, I handed her the pamphlet and whatnot, and she was like, "Okay, I understand all of that, but this is way above my head. There's nothing I can do." I says, "Don't worry, I don't want you to do anything. All I want you to do is give this to your boss in the community organization thing. Hand it to
Hmm.
him, let him deal with it." And I obviously give him all the contact information, but heard nothing back from him. But about 3 months later, for about 3 months, that advertisement was never aired. And whenever it was aired again, it had been all changed.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah, nah, they're never going to admit that they changed that because somebody got off their ass and put in a well worded complaint.
Yep.
But they ended up doing the thing, and it also means that they have to be more thoughtful about their next advertisements because they don't want to be having the expense of changing advertisements again.
Well, your point there, if the roles were switched there, that'd be a big no-no, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But the I don't know if some companies perhaps might be a little bit uh, more afraid of Bud Lighting themselves, if you like, because we all know, what is it? Go woke, go broke. But there's
Yeah.
also a lot of companies out there that follow that narrative, and they don't particularly care if they offend a good majority of the public that is still watching TV. But there's
Well,
definitely that Bud Light syndrome going around.
Gillette lost 5 billion off their market share price
Hmm.
from their woke advertising. So it does that. At times it can actually get you a result, or it can change some bits and pieces. Right now, how did you get involved with all of this?
Me?
Yeah, you. How did you end up running the show, or
Um,
whatever?
well, Well, oh gosh, the years now, it's kind of like a twilight zone. So I think it was 2022, during the cold and flu season, if you like.
Yeah.
Um, the health department here in Western Australia was sending
Well,
vans.
actually call that 10 BC, before COVID.
That's right. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So in the BC switch.
Yeah. The health department started sending vans up to where I live, and I live in the bush, in the Aussie bush. I'm a country girl, and started, uh, yeah, targeting children at school. And I just thought, no, that's quite enough, and I'm not going to be quiet about it anymore. So I decided to print off a whole load of pamphlets from a few different groups with some information. So I'd go along to the schools because, of course, they're advertising it everywhere about what a great service they're providing. So I went along to a few schools with these pamphlets, and I made sure I was standing on public property, not school property. And I started handing out these pamphlets and speaking to parents. And one day I decided to start filming it. And just started from there. And of course, I was heavily involved with the freedom movement here in Western Australia. So, along with the other wonderful independent media we have in WA, I've started hanging around with that riffraff, filming everything. And so started off my YouTube channel and then meeting other people and, starting a few shows and things like that. But it was really when children were being targeted, I just thought, nah, this is not okay anymore. Our job as adults is to protect children. That's what our job is. So I just thought, nah, that's quite enough, and took myself out and spoke to people. The responses I got from people was quite varied. It's probably 1/3 were already educated about that and were in agreement. Another third were, oh, and then the other third were, no, you're just a you know what, and don't want to talk to you, don't want to listen to anything you've got to say. But yeah, essentially it was the kids. When you start targeting children, I was someone asked a question the other day, how do you know when society is decaying? And to me, when you willfully harm children, society is decaying. So yeah, it was the kids, the small humans. It's quite
Yes.
enough.
The the small humans have been under attack from a myriad of sources. Uh, we've got. I think it began with removing active play from schools.
Mm.
I think that's where uh, free play, the end of uh, the introduction of organized play at recess and pretty much everything else,
Yep.
and the the way the way education's went, and it has went right across the whole West. That it can't be a coincidence that
No.
they reduce the sports, they reduce the activities, they, in general, treat boys as dysfunctional girls. Then we reward the kids who go along with the agenda,
Yep.
and then we end up with uh, these children who have been brainwashed and lied to in children's assemblies, telling the elected politicians what they should do next.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all it. It's all out of whack.
Yeah.
Adults are supposed to be there to provide uh, guidance, security, peaceful environment for the
Mm-hmm.
children, and we had this thing whereby we've decided to throw all the children on the bus, make sure they get medical procedures, uh, and I firmly believe the reason why they went after the kids with the medical procedures was because they the governments themselves are they don't get to they don't get to decide I need to buy 100,000 vaccines. The vaccine companies say, here's a million vaccines, go find arms, stick them in.
Yeah.
I think it was the excess amount of vaccines they had that pushed them on to younger and younger children
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want the embarrassment of throwing them out.
Yep.
And, and quite apart from it being embarrassing, they would have to then admit to the quantity of people that didn't take any vaccines
Yep.
or took one at most.
We had a situation last year, certainly in Western Australia, where our state government had purchased, I've forgotten the figures now, but millions of these rat tests, and they couldn't give them away. And what they ended up doing was handing them to the schools, and students were sent home with bundles of them. And then they'd also go to, they'd send people off to your local shopping centre with boxes and boxes of them to give them away, because people just weren't having it. Even
Well,
now they're giving masks away because they can't sell them.
yeah.
But just to go back to education there, I mean, I always question now why these so-called experts have so much influence in our life that have no training. I mean, Mr. Bill Gates, since when did he become a doctor? I mean, he might be good in spreading viruses online,
Well,
but he's certainly not a doctor. And it goes back to the Carnegie Institute. They were the oiling and steel company, but Carnegie Institute was instrumental in changing the education system. It's always these people who have no qualifications at all, who end up sticking their fingers in all these different pies and affecting all sorts of things that humans have to participate in their daily lives. And these experts, these my air quotes, got them out already, have no qualifications at all. So what does that tell you? They've obviously got an agenda, which
well,
which isn't. serving humanity, that's for sure.
Anybody that thinks vaccine protection from Mr. Bill Gates is good has obviously never had a Windows computer. It's like,
Yep.
what the fuck? It beggars belief. I believe that Carnegie had the move for getting children in the school as a way of childcare to get mothers into the workforce
Mm.
and pay more tax.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That too.
Uh, I keep hearing all this stuff about they did it because they could pay the women less, and I'm thinking if they actually had a model where you could run factories and stuff by paying women less, there would be no men employed. uh, we can't seem to get around that, but I definitely think it was get women back into the workforce, get them paying tax, uh, create two double income houses even whenever the children were at school,
Yep.
and then whenever we chop that away, everybody's going to be fucked because we've had the rise of families with double income, and now we're seeing that drop down because the jobs are just simply not going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, all these topics like, getting women into the workforce, our children being taken care of during the day by the education system, which we know has all sorts of nefarious things in it. Encouraging surgery for children, and in some states in America, even I think in over east in Australia, teachers don't have to inform parents about all these things. Come back to destroying the family unit, and this is communism 101, fascism. Destroy the family unit. We want the children to be looking at the government as the one source of truth, and they can take everyone down the garden path to where what they want us to be. And they're really the insidious nature of how they insert themselves between parents or caregivers and children. It's just out of control, and how people don't see it now just blows my mind sometimes.
The proving ground for a lot of that Scotland. The
Mhm.
SNP, friend of mine, friend of this channel, DJ Resisting the Lies, goes into a hell of a lot of detail of all the new legislation the Scottish Parliament are bringing in. And they made it so that a child can transition at school, but not in the home. And not only are the teachers not required to tell the parents, they are required to keep it secret from the parents if the
Mm.
child thinks that's the best thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I'm pretty sure that whenever I was 8 or 9, I went through a phase of thinking I was Superman, and while the adults were happy enough for me to have like a tea towel draped around my shoulders and like a cape so that it flops up whenever I'm running about and stuff, none of them said, "Way up the inside upstairs window and go out and see if you fly." Everybody got that was a step too far, and you can't do that. But with what's happening with children now, you think you're good. Let's get you on hormone blockers.
Yep. Yeah, we've got a hospital in Melbourne now, I think, that are supporting 3-year-olds that are questioning their gender and all those sorts of things. 3-year-olds. I mean, it's just it's just out of control. It's nuts. It's
What
absolutely nuts.
none of this none of this should be allowed until the child's well past puberty,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because that's what naturally fixes all of this, like
Mm-hmm.
all of it. Uh, and I don't care what people say. Effeminate boys, tomboy girls, any of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they go through puberty, and then whenever they come out of puberty, the girls find out that, oh, those boys do look interesting, and the boys think, I'm thinking about those girls a bit differently now, and holy fuck, have they changed shape? And that solves all of this problem. Now,
Yep.
if you do have a very, very uh, small minority of people,
Yep.
0.5% of the population of boys and girls that do have a genuine issue, that's
Yep.
still going to be there whenever they're 16, 18, 20.
That's right.
Maybe that's the age where they can have an informed consent about this.
Yeah, well, I quite some time ago now, I interviewed Buck Angel, and for anybody that doesn't know Buck Angel, he was born a woman, and he's 60 years old now, so he's one of the original
Right.
transsexuals, a
Yes.
real transsexual. So he was born a woman, lived his life as a woman for 30 years, and then decided to transition to male only through hormones and I think top surgery, not bottom surgery. But I interviewed Buck and we talked about three things mainly about, what's happening with our young people at the moment. And, he's very active because, it's destroying teenagers' lives because, we know social contagion is a real thing. And we've seen that there's been many studies done about this with like bulimia, anorexia, cutting, all these sorts of things. When groups start having that happen, it's a social contagion, and that's how it spreads amongst
Oh,
teenagers.
it's really amazing how every time that there is a push to raise awareness for anorexia, bulimia, any of that stuff, that there's a spike in the amount of people that have it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so then, of course, you've also got the activists at the moment, or the allies, as they call themselves, which are, totally brainwashed by all of this propaganda and, spreading their revolting messages everywhere. But at the end of the day, the really important thing that Buck always points out is that body dysmorphia, and that's what it is when, like Buck was born a woman but always felt like a man. True body dysmorphia is a mental disorder. It's actually a mental disorder.
Yep.
And, with all this crap going on with the allies and the social contagion to castrate and mutilate our youngsters, they're actually requiring people now to participate in people's mental illness instead of getting them support and help. They're affirming this nonsense and they're harming people. So that's one of the really great things about Buck, is that he's out there and he's talking about that and saying, look, this is a mental illness. It's only a very small part of the population. The rest of it is social contagion and these bloody allies that, again, being covertly indoctrinated to, further this awful message across the world, to castrate and mutilate our youth, So, I wouldn't want to shit on anybody that actually has body dysmorphia because it's a mental illness. But the rest of it, this is on purpose to castrate, mutilate, and depopulate the earth. God, what a conversation! 6:30 in the morning here, 40. Jeez.
Oh fuck. Uh, Right. Here's a really interesting one. I recently had a look back at the FGM, female genital mutilation
Oh
legislation.
yeah.
Right. It turns out that, well, it's an offence to cut surgically for any non-medical reason a woman's genitals of any age. And to make this very clear, I'm on board with that. I think that should be a law. Uh,
Mm.
I'm good with that. I don't think anybody should be. If your child pops out and there's not an abnormality, I don't think that you need to cut any bits off it. Be
Yeah.
it male, be it female, be it whatever. I think we should let everybody keep all the bits they've got. But what they have done is, if the woman or girl wants to have it done because of cultural reasons, as in the people of my community do this, it's a rite of passage for women who they want that. That does not excuse the person carrying out the procedure. It's still illegal. You're not allowed to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if they want to do it because they think they're the other gender, that's fine. Work away.
Yeah.
And the they've actually reframed that law to enable transgenders, and it's fucking sick. I I don't know any other way to put it. We're very good at regulating that you can't tattoo children
Mm-hmm.
because they're not old enough to make that decision. You can't. Uh, they they can't legally smoke. I know kids, whenever they get to a certain age, a lot of them do smoke. Right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
got that. But they're not allowed to do it legally. They're not allowed to drink legally. They're not allowed to vote legally.
Yep.
All of that stuff. No, you're too young. You need to wait until you're older, more mature. Want to cut your dick off? Work away. It
Yep.
beggars belief.
Yep. Yes, but I mean, tattoos. It's I don't. People have laser surgery, all those sorts of things, but tattoos. It's there. It's there forever.
Yep.
These sorts of things. Tobacco, alcohol, not good for your health, can damage your body, all those sorts of things. But like you just said, you want to surgically remove something that you can never get back. Yep, sure, yep. And this is the inverted reality, 1984 upside down world we live in, where they want us to think that 1+1 equals banana. And that's the truth because we say so. And if you think otherwise, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, you must be a racist or something.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Or a
Uh,
Nazi.
yeah. Oh, I have a question for you. Do you think Australia will follow New Zealand's lead in banning smoking for anyone that was below the age of 18 on the date that they brought it in?
I've a little while ago they were having conversations about that, but Australia is managing to do it just by increasing the cost of cigarettes.
Yes,
So
I've noticed.
a packet of cigarettes, a packet of 40 cigarettes now is just under $70. So that would be, 100 and something pounds, if I'm not mistaken.
$70 for
Yeah.
40. Right, so that
Yep.
would be like $30 for, yeah, because right enough, whenever I was in Australia, I think it was 2018, it would have been like 18 to $20 for a packet of 20 cigarettes.
Yep. So, it's it's really become they're just they're just increasing the prices incrementally and regularly, to where people just can't afford it. But I have heard talks about them here about banning people from smoking under a certain age, but I suppose, digital ID's well on its way. I guess they could, use these passes like they had with the ye olde spicy needle passes
Yeah,
as well, to introduce that, but certainly in Australia, it's just becoming so expensive, that, people are quitting smoking because of that,
yeah. The, the United Kingdom, they have a consultation document on doing that same shit here, uh, which I actually filled that in live online. I know there was at least one other person went through the online version and did that while I was doing that, because they ran that consultation for a whole 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's normally 30 days. I love me a consultation document. Uh, it's a really good way to get your opinions in the government. They have to read the fucking thing. So I would do quite a lot of those. They're normally 30 days. That one they did it for 7 days, and that they've got all of their NGOs and little uh, minions all poised, ready to pounce on it as soon as it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Get them trained up. This is the response you will return.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think, look, smoking, also alcohol, they're continuously increasing the price of alcohol. We know these things aren't great for us, but, people smoke and people drink. And, they just, someone up here's commented a little bit up there, you will smoke the bugs. Yeah.
Yes.
I think they have a plan for that. They want to get out the tobacco and
Yeah. Oh, there is a story about mind control with MK Ultra and cigarettes and yak stung.
okay.
Right, that they now, to be fair, I got this from a book that was, it's one of those books that you don't know if it's fact or fictional, but it did have uh, real people, real names, and whatnot, that alluded to that time. And John, fuck knows what you've got into. I'm sorry. But they had like American soldiers, and they would give them free yak stung cigarettes, not telling them they were made from yak stung. And because there was stuff going on, they could control this free access and whatnot. After about a week, they were fine with them because they didn't know. They thought they were just stumbling upon these free cigarettes. It's absolutely nuts. The 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 way all this is going, I wouldn't be surprised. No. Yes, we're now 44 minutes in. The young lady who is not allowed her procedure. Any? Is there much of a backlash about that? I'm guessing only from the sort of people will be inclined to.
Well, I'll point out it's not just Dazzle. That's her name, Dazzle. We've got lots of other people in Australia that have been refused surgery. We've got another lady, Vicky, who's been refused a heart transplant for the very same reason. She's managed to raise some money to go overseas to get her life-saving transplant. But certainly with Dazzle, she's required to have 4 spicy needles, and so her answer is no. So certainly with Cafe Locked Out, there's also a group started for her. It's called Daisies for Dazzle. So the daisy flower has been used as a symbol to spread the message across the world about Dazzle. We've had a couple of notable politicians certainly speak to Vicky about her heart. And of course, a lot of groups within the freedom movement talking about Vicky and Dazzle and organising a lot of events and all those sorts of things to raise awareness, but also support them monetarily, because, you know, their families are getting shafted by the government as well, because, you know, they need constant medical care because they're unwell. But yeah, it's really quite difficult, particularly with you know, these prostitutes who call themselves journalists in mainstream media.
Yeah.
All these kitty litter outlets, you know, of course they're not interested in these people's stories. You know, they're bought, paid and sold to spread a particular narrative, even though occasionally they'll drop a few things here and there which we might say is truth. But ultimately, so far, it's really been the freedom movement and different channels like Cafe Locked Out and a few others that have been trying to get Dazzle's message out there, because, you know, it's essentially it's comply or die. That's what the hospitals are doing, you know. So you know, we're not talking about people that are in their 80s or their 90s. Not that I'm, you know, disregarding people's lives as more significant than others depending on your age. You know, we're talking about a young teenage girl who has hopes and dreams for the rest of her life, and is, you know, it's medical segregation. She's being crucified by the hospitals and by the Australian government, and it's
Actually, age is quite pertinent in this, because if
mhm,
you have a case for medical malfeasance, or uh, if you have a case for involuntary manslaughter or
mhm,
something like that at work, where the person who, the family of the person who has died is going to be
mhm,
compensated. For a 80-year-old, they compensate very little money, because the 80-year-old has possibly got 10 years of economic life left.
mhm, mhm,
For a 20-year-old, they compensate a hell of a lot, because they have got a full working life ahead of them. They could turn out to be somebody that's earning 200, 300,000 pound a year, and the compensation is worked out accordingly. But we
yep,
have this really strange thing where they seem to be going out of their way to not give medical care to the younger people who should have quite the viable life ahead of them.
mhm,
But we're refusing because you don't trust the untested vaccine.
mhm,
It's mad. And
mhm,
anybody thinks that this vaccine has been tested same as any other vaccine or any other procedure, uh, takes on average 12 years for a vaccine to get approved.
Yeah,
That's
right.
just that's just how long it is. I looked into this years ago with the HPV vaccine. It took it 13 years to get approved. It was 5 years before it got past animal testing. Then you've got all sorts of double-blind studies that are supposed to be done, and
Yep.
instead of that, we've had just take it. It's good for you. And I can well remember a time whenever people did not die suddenly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Remember those good old days? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and the other thing is, whenever you, if a sports person or a celebrity or somebody died, you would, particularly if it was sudden, in the article about that, there would be something about their cause of death.
Yeah.
And that all that conversation has now just gone. We can't talk about any of that. What I was thinking is, we're coming up in 51 minutes. I was going to do a little musical interlude. Justice Kane has just today put a video to one of the songs off the album.
Cool.
So I'm going to give that its first airing, and it probably suits you because what it is it's nothing more contagious than fear.
Beautiful.
So, yep, I'll get that up now. Share screen. And I promised them we'll play it.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
There's nothing more contagious than fear. Y'all ready for the reset? The reset in your brain. There's a man in a surgical mask standing a little ways behind me. At the checkout counter as I'm loading out my groceries. Though I can't see his face, I can tell by his eyes that he's not too happy with me. He propositions me through a muffled voice for the proof of my vaccination status and my mask wearing choice. Because it's clear to him that I'm contributing to the global pandemic crisis. Yeah, and if it wasn't for me and my selfish attitude, we could all get back to normal. It's all my fault, I'm to blame, because I'm the unvaccinated. I should be ashamed. Nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. Nothing more contagious. There's nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. More contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. More contagious. More contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. It's the government advisors that call themselves the wise ones, who are not elected by the British public for their scientific guidance. And just because you wear a white coat and you got letters after your name, doesn't mean that you tell the truth and your only goal is a financial gain. Money, 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 money. Besides, follows the money. And the ones that you trusted have all now been busted. They were bubbling while you were in tears. Nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. Nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. More contagious. More contagious. contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. There's nothing more contagious than fear. Nothing more contagious. There's nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. Nothing more contagious. There's nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. More contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. Nothing more contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. More contagious. Nothing more contagious than fear. My crocodiles where the Jabberwocky gain crucial cancer. There's no vaccine. It's a gene therapy. I'm vaccinated. I'm liberated. I'm free. I'm vaccinated. I'm liberated. I'm free. Distance. Stay indoors. Natural immunity.
There we go.
Natural immunity. What's that?
That's the first time I've seen that video. I've heard the song quite a few times now, but yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. That Justice has done a good job there.
It's great.
And yeah, and it carries a good message. What I like is it's the tune and the sound of it's very upbeat, but it has this really bleak fucking message.
Yep.
The contrast is quite good. So
Yeah. Well, nothing more contagious than fear. I guess my byline to my channel: fear is the virus, courage is the cure.
yeah.
I just wanted to comment there, and I think a few people as well have in the comments about that funeral and people moving closer, and then that awful person running up the back there, making them sit further apart again. For one, we talked about this when you were on my show, 40, that, stay 1.5 meters apart, but we'll keep the brothels open. Yeah, because science makes sense. But I heard an awful story yesterday. I had a friend go to one of their friends' funerals, and, he was one of us, and was very sad to hear that a lot of the people that were attending the funeral, and also the pastor, one particular person was given the eulogy, making not so kind remarks about, his thoughts and, being a conspiracy theorist, and the people in the pews were laughing, and the pastor was making comments like, oh, well, we have to be the shining light to these people. People can't even respect people when they're dead now, and they're taking the piss out of people that have passed that didn't buy into this bullshit. And I just thought, that's just a whole new level, where these indoctrinated people are taking the piss at someone's funeral, Shame on them. How gross. Isn't that horrible?
It is. Now, I'm quite of a belief that the opinions you have on somebody whenever they're alive shouldn't really change whenever they're dead. You can't go, because this person's dead, we're going to make everything all nice. But holy fuck, there's a time and a place.
Right?
And at the funeral is the wrong time and the wrong place. You know, the funeral service is there to give closure to the family and celebrate the life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that if you're really, this is my tip for life. If you ever come to the position where you've been asked to speak at a funeral, give a eulogy or whatever, see if you can't find something good to say you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's right.
if you can't find something good to say about somebody at the funeral, don't go or
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
your trap shut.
what are we taught? Well, what were we taught as kids? If you can't find anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I mean, you think grown adults could do that at somebody's funeral, but it just goes to show you that this fear campaign that has been perpetrated upon everybody, particularly over the past 4 years, has worked so well on so many different levels in people's lives, and now we see also here. It's also permeated, the one time and place where we should be respectful and, like you said, celebrating somebody's life, whether or not they were an awful human or not. It's just the fear campaign has just been so insidious and permeated every little part of people's lives. And this is for anybody here that hasn't watched any of my shows. I dislike mainstream media. These prostitutes should all they've been complicit in this lie, and they should all be put in jail along with all the notable characters that we would all agree on. But mainstream media, they're disgusting, disgusting people. So yeah, I was just horrified to hear that. I just thought, wow, the fear campaign's really done a great job, hasn't it?
It has. And Andy Noble's brought up a point. We've got a pandemic treaty coming down the pipe.
Yep.
And which is going to require all governments to do whatever it is the World Health Organization says.
Yeah. So I've been covering on my show, Morning Rise and Relentless. I speak to James Roguski usually every 4 to 5 weeks. He's in California, and he spends an enormous amount of time keeping track of the World Health Organization and what they're up to with the international health regulation amendments, and also the pandemic treaty, which has had a name change 600 times. We don't even know what it's called anymore. But May is going to be very interesting. We've got the World Health Assembly for the WHO happening there. So yes, the working group's already broken the rules about supplying the paperwork for the international health regulation amendments. According to Article 55, they're supposed to supply these to the member states 4 months before the World Health Assembly so that they can read over them. Well, they haven't done that. So they've already broken the rules. They're just going to rock up in May and put it on the table and expect all the member nations to agree to it. And also, as Andy's pointed out, with the pandemic treaty, that will be on the table as well then at the World Assembly in May. And it will be a very interesting month because we've seen all these countries now. Magically, it's mainly the Five Eyes Nations that are trying to shift blame at the moment about we didn't mandate anybody. Oh, some workplaces are getting in trouble. Oh, the Queensland Supreme Court here, for instance, ruled the mandates were unlawful. All these different things. But essentially, at the end of the day, it'll be these two. The IHR amendments and the pandemic treaty, which will allow control, and I don't care what they say about sovereignty and all the rest of it, within particularly the Five Eyes Nations. So yeah, May is going to be really interesting to see what's going to be put on the table and what these unelected bureaucrats, don't forget, what they agree to and what they sign off on.
No Western country has had sovereignty since, I would say, pre-World War II. I'm not sure when the United Nations came to be a thing. I'm not sure when the World Health Organization became a thing, but I'm pretty sure it was shortly after World War II. And from they came into play the idea of national sovereignty and electing a government that was going to make its decisions based on the best outcome for their citizens, as opposed to just enacting the mandates that are handed down to them, is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they're always passing the buck, you know. And we've had our previous Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. He was the Prime Minister during the cold and flu situation. You know, he's on TV saying so many times, oh, we never mandated anybody, blah, 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 you know, trying to memory hole everything for the future. And, you know, it's the usual situation where they handball it to the state premiers, you know, and the state premiers mandated everybody, you know, so the government can say, because our constitution, they can't do that. And so they handball it down to the premiers, and the premiers handball it down to the workplaces. The workplaces hand it down to the checkout chick, you know, who wants to check your green pass to see if you can purchase alcohol, you know, and that's how they get away with it, you know. And then organisations like the World Health Organization say, we didn't do anything. It was your country, you know. They're sneaky, slimy bastards.
Yeah, they are incredibly sneaky, slimy bastards. They've got a hand in absolutely everything apart from accountability.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's they're all over everything.
Yep.
Until it comes to the point where they have to own up to what they've done, and apparently they did absolutely nothing. You know, I don't live in Australia, but I did see the videos of people's apartment blocks having security on the halls, pushing people back into their apartment and telling them, if you want any food, just order delivery.
Yeah. Melbourne had the worst lockdowns and the longest lockdowns in Australia. You know, you could only go, I don't even know how far it was, a couple of Ks from your house. And they had curfews and all sorts of things, you know. Just we didn't have it so bad over here in Western Australia. I mean, I think we had the longest border closures. But certainly people in Melbourne, you know, Dictator Dan, somebody here in the comments mentioned Dictator Dan, you know, yeah. But
I'm going to guess whenever you go out into the sticks, the types of places where you live, nothing really changed.
We had imaginary borders, which funnily enough now they've set up cameras on the road and we're wondering what they're for. Maybe this geofencing that will be introduced. But yeah, just a little bit past where I live, they had imaginary borders, and they did have police officers stationed there. And if you couldn't prove that you were on the road for a legitimate reason, you weren't allowed to go past this imaginary border, you know.
What's the legitimate reason?
You know, like a doctor's appointment or
right.
You know, something like that.
Work, doctor's appointment, necessary foodstuffs that you can't get somewhere the other direction.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, it's all a bunch of nonsense. We had, what are they called? Essential workers. So if you're an essential worker, so you would naturally think, oh, you know, doctors, nurses, firefighters, that sort of thing. No, essential workers were people that worked at Bunnings. And for anybody that doesn't know, Bunnings is a hardware store, you know, where you go to buy pot plants and soil. But apparently that was a place where essential workers were needed. So if you worked at Bunnings, you could go past this imaginary borderline and go to work that day because they're essential. And don't forget all the prostitutes in the brothels; they were essential workers as well. But yeah, that's how they managed it, was these imaginary borders. But like I said, they're putting up cameras in very strange places now across Australia, preparing for because they can't manage 15-minute cities here. They can't manage 30-minute cities. I mean, this country is massive. So geofencing, these cameras that are going to monitor us going in and out of our villages, I will put bets on that's what these cameras are being installed for.
So, what if your local village doesn't have something that you need?
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that.
And I can understand where have I visited in Australia? Brisbane. I was in Brisbane. I was on the Gold Coast. Brisbane, very big city. I can understand why somebody living there could potentially get everything they need locally.
Mm-hmm.
But even just going from Brisbane out to the Gold Coast on a Greyhound for a couple of hours, give you an idea about the vastness of the country and the amount of space there is between different things.
Yep.
It would be an absolute nightmare to try to curtail you. But
and Andy's just said here, fly it to you with the drone. I mean, I could see that happening. Yep.
Yeah. That.
Yep.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
They believe they've got a cure for everything, and none of it's making anything better. My best bet is we're progressing towards the Stone Age.
Yeah. Somebody I was listening to the other day was talking about that. Yeah. It's even for example, the internet, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes they made, was making the internet available to the general public. I mean, we can see they're scrubbing it at the moment. They're memory holing a whole load of stuff because they can't have the younger generations being able to access the truth. And I would say, in the not too distant future, we won't be able to use the internet unless, of course, you've been a good citizen and you've got some social credit points that have said you've done all the right things, and you might be able to use the internet.
We were never supposed to be allowed to use the internet in the first place.
Yeah,
that was not the plan. The internet was designed for military use.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was designed for military use, and the computers were supposed to stay so technical that we were never supposed to go off MS-DOS. And in order to do anything, you needed to be able to program, which would have naturally limited. But then we had people come up with new computers, new ways of doing things where you can just type and it comes up on the screen. And at that point, they found out that they no longer had a hold on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually it's amazing the stuff that they do memory hole.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that they don't memory hole, what they do is they go back to news items from 2-3 years ago, and they edit it and change it.
Yep.
And then you get this thing at the top where it says originally published 2015, edited 2022, and you no longer know what the news was at that time. Plus, everybody has stopped keeping their hard copies because, well, fuck, you can just if you need, you can just look back at it.
Yep. No, not available. No. No, I have a memory hole file, so I download all the things which I know they're going to memory hole, because they most definitely change reports and all those sorts of things. That's for sure.
The first time I came across that was I wrote a blog post in I'm going to say it was 2013, 2014 at the latest, about a guy called Russell Jocelyn who worked at a radio station in England, and the star of the show he worked on, Liz Kershaw, wanted to go out with him. He didn't want to go out with her or whatever, and things didn't work out, and she hounded him to the point where he killed himself.
Oh.
Yeah. And I wrote a blog post about it, it was definitely her. She's the only person who fitted the criteria that it could have been. She worked on this show, blah, blah, blah. And I got a comment on it about 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks later, saying that, actually 3 months later, sorry, and saying, what you're saying is not in your source. And I was like, no, it is. And whenever I went and clicked on the source that I had put on my blog post, it had been changed. I'm like, what the fuck? And they do it with the weirdest and strangest things, and everything was all just being sort of like and fixed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In such a more efficient way that 1984 could ever have dreamed of.
That's right. I mean, you can forget about shadow banning. Myself and Cafe Locked Out, we are being absolutely censored right now by Facebook, Rumble, and X. That's a whole big long thing. So if anybody is still under the illusion that X is a free speech platform, I have Linda Yaccarino participating in an X space talking about the policies at X. If it's lawful but awful, they're going to censor you, and they are. We are heavily censored right now. And just to talk about memory holing in real time, a few weeks ago, everybody will remember that this disease X was viral on nearly every social media platform. And I wanted to stay out of that because, it's just one big distraction, blah, 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 blah. But I came across a video by the World Health Organization themselves, and they had two ladies standing there clearing up this, all the confusion about disease X. And I thought, what an interesting video this is. So I watched it, sat through it. That was, 5 minutes I couldn't get back in my life. And, what they said about disease X is that there's a list of diseases. They've added disease X to the bottom. It's not a real one, but it's a reminder to remember the unknown. This is their words. It's a reminder to remember the unknown. So I thought, did a short segment on one of my shows about that, and then edited it, put it up on my Facebook channel, that sort of stuff. And within a couple of hours, they had edited my video. So I played the part where the two ladies from the WHO discuss disease X. It's a reminder to remember the unknown. And I included my comment, which was, did anybody catch that word salad? Did anybody understand that? And Facebook, nearly in real time, a couple of hours later, had edited it and taken out my comments. So they're doing that to people's videos on Facebook. We got all this crap from YouTube saying you can't do this, blah, 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 blah. But Facebook are doing it online pretty much in real time.
So you posted this on your page? Yes.
my
Right.
Facebook page. Yep.
Right. You posted that on your Facebook page. They let the post stay up, but removed your comments.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So in the future, what they've done is they've taken my content that I've created and they've changed it so that it looks like I've uploaded a pro World Health Organization video
Without the
about
commentary?
disease X. Hey?
Without your commentary on it.
Yep. So it looks like I'm endorsing these two ladies explaining what disease X is. Yep. And anybody that knows me know that I would never do that. But if anybody watches it doesn't know me and my views would think, oh, what an informative video she's created, put up on her page from the World Health Organization.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
I just want to address this. The WHO's logo is snake curled around a needle. That is a general medical logo. I don't know exactly what it means, but I do know that there's outside the Royal Victoria Hospital, there's a huge metal snake curled around a needle, and you can make the snake twist around and stuff. It's pretty cool, but that has been a medical logo for a very long time. I don't know where it came from, but
yeah,
any
it goes
ideas?
back a long time. That
Yeah.
symbol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Memory holing. They've really ramped it up.
Yeah. Hello. Yes. Spanish Chicken saying St. John's Ambulance has the same. Yeah, I don't know what it is. But because whenever you post a video on Facebook, you can't edit it yourself.
No, not on Facebook. No.
No.
You just have to delete it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the editing tools on a YouTube video are very, very, very basic. You can chop out a little bit of video. You can possibly blur some stuff, but pretty much what you post up is what stays there. But Facebook are quite happy to go in and do some quite technical editing for you without even asking you.
That's right. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and I was flabbergasted actually when I saw it, and I jumped on live on Facebook, X, and somewhere else. So I recorded it, showing my Facebook page and showing my X page, and so I've got it documented that Facebook has edited my video. So that's just to me the purpose of that is so that if anybody watches that, it's a pro World Health Organization video. That's what they've turned it into. Yep.
That is nuts. Anything else quite weird going on down there in Australia?
There's lots. Yeah, as I've just mentioned briefly before, we just had the Queensland Supreme Court rule that the mandates were unlawful. And so apparently one of our politicians, I can't confirm it, I haven't been able to fact check it myself yet, but nurses in Queensland that refuse to comply with the spicy needle direction obviously have been stood down for years, and they still haven't been able to go back to work. But apparently now, because of this ruling by the Queensland Supreme Court, they should be allowed to go back to work. But we're just wondering what it means for the rest of Australia. Queensland does have a Bill of Rights, and so does the Northern Territory, as far as I'm aware, but every other state doesn't. Can you believe that? We don't have a Bill of Rights. So we're just wondering, you know.
Well, to be fair, you're a Commonwealth country,
Yep.
and the Commonwealth countries generally follow the United Kingdom, for better or worse. And the United Kingdom does not have a written constitution or a Bill of Rights. So it's actually not that surprising that you don't.
Yeah.
The ones that booked the train were America, who whenever they got there and they organized themselves, they thought, right, we're going to have a constitution and a Bill of Rights, and we're going to make it very clear where the government's authority starts, middles, and ends. Whereas the whole Commonwealth, it is very fluid. That's the word for it. It is fluid, and they make decisions on a ad hoc basis. And the longer this goes on, the more it seems that you end up in court or prosecuted more for what you believe than what you actually do.
There's a thought police.
Yeah, well, if your actions are on the right side of the political side, they tend to decide not to prosecute you.
Yep.
If you're on what I actually believe will be the right side of history, if you're one of the people that are opposed to the madness that's going on, the mass globalization, then you're far more likely to feel the full force of the law.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So we're just there's two schools of thought, I guess, particularly with what's just been handed down by the Queensland Supreme Court. You know, we have a lot of different groups over here that are pro for our constitution, but in all reality, and the immunisation handbook, both of which say that we cannot be forced to undertake any kind of medical treatments without our fully informed consent, right? That's in our constitution, that's in our immunisation handbook. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, and this is my opinion, that, you know, over the past 4 years, that those bits of paper, because that's what they are, those bits of paper didn't protect anybody, not one single person. And so, you know, there's all these questions. What's this ruling going to mean from Queensland, from the Supreme Court for the rest of Australia, or, you know, Constitution, because we just had a referendum for something, you know, not to do with this situation. And apparently, you know, people's votes count, all this sort of thing. But the reality is, over the past 4 years, these bits of paper did nothing to protect anyone. And so, you know, the questions about this moving forward with prosecuting, you know, particular premiers or chief health officers in different states, all these sorts of things, you know, who knows? But everyone's very hopeful that people are going to be held accountable. If that happens, you know, it remains to be seen. But I just don't have any faith in these bits of paper that are supposed to protect us, you know?
Well, the problem is they changed the definition of informed consent.
And vaccine.
Because, right, previously you would not have been able to have informed consent of a medication that was still in trial. Right? Today you can have informed consent of whatever the government tells you is good. A while ago you couldn't have. A while ago, a vaccination had a definition of a medical procedure, normally an injection, that prevents you from contracting a disease.
Yep.
It now has a definition of a medical procedure, normally an injection, that reduces the severity of infectious diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all this messing about with the legal definitions that makes those bits of paper irrelevant, because all they do is change the definitions away from what that protects you against, and then all of a sudden, oh no, you're not covered. We can make this decision for you. It's all good.
Well, and even who can consent. I mean, I don't know about yourself or anybody in the comments. We have here now what's called a mature minor. So if you're over the age of 12 and, you get these health vans coming up to your school because they want to give you the rubella injection or the meningococcal or, whatever it might be, or the spicy one, 12 and above are now mature minors, and they don't need informed consent from anybody. Apparently, they can give it themselves. I mean, circling back to, I can consent to having my boobs or my, Mr. What's-it locked off, but not to a tattoo or to drinking alcohol. Here as well, with particularly the spicy one, because it's a third phase trial drug experiment and still is, and apparently mature minors can give informed consent. The severity of it, infecting people's lives. Yeah, exactly, Martin. They do. They want us dead. I'll argue that with anybody. They totally want to just kill everybody. They do.
I don't think they want to kill everybody.
Oh, not everybody, but
I don't think they want to kill everybody, but I do think they've got selected targets.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have demographics they want to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got these pesky white Europeans or people of white European descent who are not going along with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And their choice is ditch the plan or ditch the white Europeans. And it seems they're going with ditch the white Europeans.
Yep. Yeah, I'm wondering what they're going to do with the people who didn't comply, because of course magically as well all over these Five Eye Nations there's lots of talk about excess mortality. So that's happening at the moment. I'm just wondering what the plan is for people that didn't comply, that aren't part of this SADS, not SIDS, but SADS. Now we've got this new phenomena happening. What are they going to do with all of us lot, that haven't complied, that don't
what
have...
What they're going to do is wait. What you have to understand that the plan that we're currently part of is well over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Well over 100 years old. And the people who started the plan never intended to be alive whenever it came to fruition. The people who are currently working the plan intend this to carry on after their death. And what they will do is they will with the people who didn't comply, they'll make it more awkward for them to be in business. They'll make it more awkward for them to engage in commerce and trade and whatnot. They'll restrict their movements and stuff. They will definitely restrict their voices because they don't want them infecting the very young people who they currently have control of, and they will just wait us out until the generation that's coming below us are fully compliant.
Yeah, I think I'm just wondering. I have hope with the small humans that are growing up with us lot now, they're learning from us. So I have hope for those small humans when they get older to, carry the torch, if you like, for lack of a better term. Oh gosh, keep us for blood donors, keep us for spare parts. Yeah, farms are getting ready. Yeah, we've got. They've been building. What do they call them? Camps. Essentially concentration camps. All
FEMA
over.
camps. FEMA camps.
Yeah, they're like FEMA camps, and they. At the moment, they use. I know they did in Queensland when there was all the flooding and going on. There were people that lost their house. They were letting people live there and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the one that they've built not too far away from where I live, it's $1 million a month to keep that place running. There's a private security firm running it, and it's empty. But there's it's still running, still open, which everyone is highly suspicious about. But yeah, as Andy just said, there farms are getting rid, concentration camps. We have jokes amongst the freedom movement. Who are we going to be neighbours with? Who are we going to be sharing a unit with? All these sorts of things. Because of course we've got a bill that was passed last year in Western Australia. Our previous Premier, Mr. Chairman Mal McGowan, left us with the Emergency Management Amendment Bill of 2022, which allows appointed officers, don't know who they are, appointed officers without a warrant to come to your house, take possession of your house, your vehicle, your children, your pets, forcibly remove you, take you off to a quarantine facility, forcibly administer any medicine that they deem appropriate, keep you there for however long they deem appropriate, and all they need is the commissioner to declare an emergency. And so we already have these laws. We already have the quarantine facilities, concentration camps ready. So, we're ready to go in WA.
So somebody just needs to sign a bit of paper and let them tanks roll and lock you all up.
Yep. Yeah, it's all ready to go. So it's it's very. Oh, and currently in Western Australia, our what's his name? I can't remember his name anyway. They're disarming the West Australian public once again. I don't know if people remember in the 90s we had a situation with Martin Bryant in Tasmania, and supposedly he went around and shot a whole load of people, and then the Prime Minister at the time did a big gun buyback, to protect everybody, because it's for safety, all those sorts of things. So this is happening once again in Western Australia. Currently now we're having another gun buyback. They're putting all sorts of new laws in. People that want to own a firearm have to have a psychological test. They have to deem you a fit and proper person, and they look into your political views, all these sorts of things, to deem whether or not you're a fit and proper person. All that. So
if you're living out in the bush out there, would it not be quite important to have a firearm because you've got lots of very dangerous animals?
Yeah. We have lots of farmers need firearms. If you've got cattle farms, sheep farms, that they have lots of vermin out there, which they need to animal control, all these sorts of things. All sorts of different reasons, but they're just making it near on impossible for law-abiding citizens to get a firearm license. And we all know that, the criminals who are using guns in an inappropriate manner, they're not applying for a gun license, for heaven's sake, So it's clearly, just another exercise in disarming the West Australian public. So on top of the Emergency Management Bill I just explained, they're also, disarming everyone at the moment. So, all signs are pointing to something some emergency being declared where they don't want people to be able to defend themselves, where they want to be able to take you off to a quarantine facility whenever they like without a warrant, all these sorts of things. So it's all it's all fun and games here in Western Australia, 40.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fucked up at all.
No.
Oh, Linda Hunter, my Australian friend, has said, "Here, you can't shoot spiders."
You can't shoot spiders.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. What about over your side of the world? Are they? I mean, we're an island nation, but I just keep seeing all things about immigration. I mean, we are an island. We have had a couple of ships arriving with some people that want to come and live here, but that's what we're seeing a lot, particularly on social media around your parts, is about immigration.
It does not. Great Britain as a whole does not look the way it did 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very marked difference. The speed at which the demographics of the United Kingdom has changed is quite alarming. To the point where we now have some large towns where there are no white people, Indigenous British people living there.
Mm-hmm.
They are also considering not doing any more censuses, or if they do any censuses, don't not take any ethnic markers for the demographics, because it's got to the point where it's becoming very obvious to everybody that there's a replacement going on. Now, I will say mainland England, Scotland, Wales has got this a lot worse than Northern Ireland.
Right.
Ireland itself, formerly known as the Republic of Ireland, but they took the Republic name off in the 1950s, 60s, I believe. They have quite a lot of immigration. They plan to double their population between now and 2030 by importing in more people. I don't know what could possibly go wrong. It's not like, it's not like we're currently having problems with gangs of people running about with very large knives attacking schools. Oh fuck, that's exactly what's happening. So we've got that going on. In Northern Ireland, the little bit that I live in, my little ethno state in East Belfast, which is a unionist area, is still very predominantly white. But what I'm seeing around Belfast, there is a very marked change, and it has came about in the last. Oh fuck! It actually started when the pandemic started. The only thing that was the only thing that was open during the pandemic was the borders.
Funny that.
Yeah, fuck. So you lived here all your life. We know you, we know your medical history, we know everything about you. You want to go to the pub? Fuck off! Not for you. You don't. That's closed. There's a big bad bug. You coming on a boat across the channel without any papers? Yeah, come on ahead. We've a hotel for you. And it makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
I was just what.
All through that pandemic, You know what never closed? The fucking airports.
Yes.
Right. No, I'm going to give it that. This is a radical idea. Right. So you get on a aircraft in London, and you're going to fly to New York. I'm pretty sure you've been on an aircraft.
Yep.
Have you ever seen anybody open a window and get fresh air in?
No.
Right. So what happens is on the tarmac in London, they close those big heavy doors, and the air that's in there is all the air you're going to have until you land 5 hours later. And in order to reduce the amount of people that get sick by that, and also make sure to stay alive, what they do is they filter that air and recirculate it through filters and possibly put in a little bit of fresh air that they have in tanks.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. By the way, aircrafts are quite large. They're quite heavy. In order to make them stay up in the air, they need to minimize the weight that they carry, so they're not carrying a hell of a lot of compressed air that they're going to feed into you. You're getting the air that's inside that tube.
Mm-hmm.
And you will then be inhaling and exhaling that air for 5 hours. Anybody's got any bug, everybody's on that aircraft's got it by the time to get off. It's in their system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you really have a very serious contagious disease, if you really need to send people from London to New York, you would send them by a boat and tell them to spend time on the open deck. But we didn't do that because they obviously don't believe their own hype. They didn't tell you to put a fucking Spanish chicken. It's not as filtered as you think it is. Ever seen people build an aircraft? I have. Ever seen the air things that they put in for introducing new air into the aircraft? So that no, they don't exist. We don't put them in whenever we're building the fucking aircraft. You've got the air that you've got, and it goes through a filter, and those filters do very fucking little. And that mask that you put on, that cloth thing that goes across your face and nose and mouth and whatnot, the really the easiest way to test how well a mask works. This is simple. Anybody can do it. Put your mask on. Go and shovel shit. Yeah. If you can smell the shit, your mask doesn't work. If you can't smell the shit, you've got a good mask.
Just talking about not shutting the airports down. Isn't it funny when you put two videos side by side? A couple of people have done this. One video showing, the TSA in America, patting everyone down. Why it's necessary, must do that, and walk through the X-ray machine. Can't be concealing anything. So have that video playing, and then on the right part of the screen, you've just got people walking across the borders, being bussed, being given money, being given no check. That makes sense, doesn't it? So let's pat everyone down, see if they're allowed to board an airplane, got your passport, get the okay, all this crap, touched up and assaulted while you're at it, But some parts of the country just stroll in, calm down, like fucking Wheel of Fortune.
A really interesting thing about that, which comes from, which is unique from growing up in Northern Ireland. So I grew up in Northern Ireland, Belfast, during the shit. If I was going to a shop in the town, I went with my parents when I was a kid, got on the bus, got off the bus before we went into the town, went through this big fuck off metal gating system that they had before the entrance to the town. Everybody gets searched. You go through that, come out the other side, and you're about to go into another shop and you get searched. And that's just how we lived. We lived with the fact that there was police and army up and down the street all the time. If the police or the army decided that they wanted to stop you, talk to you, and search you, they could go ahead and do that. That was just, they weren't allowed to do that. Right? Now, whenever you went to Belfast International Airport, as I did, and to go and get on a plane, right? You drove through all this security infrastructure until you got to the airport. And whenever the taxi or the relative who was dropping you off, dropped you off, you went into the airport, you walked in there and it was a whole different world. And there was no security. Everything was fine. People were friendly. And once you got to the other side, there was bars open at strange times. There was duty-free shopping and everything was all. It was all there to make it an enjoyable experience. And then 9/11 happened. And the airport became suddenly this real fucking ugly place where nobody's nice, where you get searched and searched again, and you're not
assaulted.
Assaulted. Not allowed to bring water from one place to another. Not allowed to bring a cigarette lighter from one place to another.
Yep.
And they say that they do all this for security, right?
Yep.
Now, and they also said that no passenger was going to be flying anywhere without their baggage on the plane. If the baggage was on the plane and a passenger wasn't, that baggage had to come off in case it went boom mid-flight. So, with all the things that they've put on, they should know exactly where everybody's baggage is. And if that security system was carried up, was followed up backstage behind where you and I don't see in an airport, and everything was done the way that they say it's done, we would have no lost baggage from them. But yet with all, every 2 months at every airport, there's a fucking sale goes on where you can buy all the lost luggage.
Yeah.
Right. But because it's all bullshit, there's none of it being done properly. There's none of it being done for what it's said to be done. And I honestly think that they come up with an idea that if we make it impossible for people to get through security in less than an hour, people will think that they're more secure. And they just randomly pick that time and decide to put in enough intrusions.
Well, I mean, you were just saying, a little bit while ago, all of these things, particularly, I think we were talking about separating, inserting themselves between families and, destroying that relationship parents have with or caregivers have with their children. This has been planned for, I would say more than 100 years, but yeah, most definitely a long time. And, I think particularly 9/11 and what we've been talking here about the airports, you're right. If it had anything to do with security, someone's mentioned LAX here. I went through there too and lost my baggage somehow magically. Those things wouldn't happen. So, my conspiracy allegedly, that crackdown in the airports was just, one more exercise, part of this social engineering in forcing people to comply with, security or authorities, us allowing them to have control over us. And, incrementally this happens, as we move forward in time. And so, yeah, I don't think, there was any real safety measure in monitoring the size of the shampoo bottle you might happen to have in your suitcase. It's just another exercise in making you comply with the perceived authority that these retards have. Yes, I'm going to use the word retard. If you're offended, then you're in the wrong place. And yeah, just another exercise to, make us comply. Just another little level, and then they top it up until we just have no control.
On the subject of the size of shampoo bottles, what the fuck is it in Australia with the size of their shampoo bottles?
What do you mean?
Right, I went to, I flew over to Australia, and I thought I will buy shower gel whenever I get there, because then it means I don't need to worry about the baggage and all that. Right, so I'm like, fucking. And I arrived in Target in Australia.
Yep.
And I was looking for like a gym size shower gel, quite small. And they had none. They had all the same stuff. It was all outlink stuff, but the bottles were fucking massive.
Yep.
Yeah. Over here we get a bottle that's half that size that you would stick in your gym bag and whatnot. So I was going to buy one of those. Now, granted, I know Australia's dear, but I'm honestly not going to complain about the price of the price of the shower gel and stuff. But holy fuck, I was just saying, like, why is there no smaller sizes? They were just massive.
Yeah, it's either enough for a family of 7, or they'll scam you to go to this little section where you can buy travel goods,
Right.
and they're the tiny little ones that you get one squirt out of, and they'll charge you $6 for it,
Right. Anglo shower gel is the liquid that you rub on yourself whenever you're taking a shower to wash. I get my accent can confuse some people. Mate, I never even thought about stealing from a hotel.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, generally speaking, I don't use the free shower gel at a hotel anyway. If anything, that those wee miniature things, they get taken home as a memento, if anything. But yeah, right. Now we're coming up on 2 hours. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that Linda's saying that they can't? Right. Is there anything that we haven't covered?
I would just say, particularly with all fingers crossed and things go well, being put up on culture. If you go along to cafelockdout.com, there's a tab there for culture, and it's great now that there's a space and a platform that's supporting liberated artists, and I'd encourage everybody to go along there. And of course, you can find me on YouTube, Rumble, X, Instagram, but the best places is Rumble. Courage is the cure. I do in-depth interviews with a lot of really interesting people, and my other channel on Rumble is Robyn's Hood, where I do a morning show 3 days a week, which is Yeah, questioning the narrative, hating on kitty litter prostitutes, and inserting some humour in there, because if we didn't have some humour, we'd all go insane. Because let's not forget that 1 + 1 does not equal banana.
I'm gonna steal that from you, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it's true. They want you to disbelieve what you see in front of your own eyeballs, you know.
Mm.
So we've got to resist everybody. But thanks for having me on, Ford. It's been great to talk to you again. And I'm so excited your music's going to be up for people to purchase on Culture as well. It's super exciting. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I'm really delighted to have you on. I'm sure at some stage you'll come back on again, or I'll do something with you.
Yeah.
We've got a request from Toffee, our resident dog lover, who asked you to say, right, I'm going to have to explain the la at the back of that.
Okay.
Toffee Scouse, right? He's from Liverpool, and instead of saying lad, they would call people la. Right. So that's what the la bit just means: mate, friend, lad, whatever. So he's asked you to say good day, la, to him.
Okay. Good day, la.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yes, but absolutely, really enjoyed having you on. We'll definitely keep in touch and whatnot. And I'm gonna find a song to play us out with.
Awesome.
Yep. Where am I?
Yeah, I just agree with Andy. Resist. Yes, just resist. Don't comply with their bull poo. Their bullshit. It's all nonsense.
I'm gonna go with harmony, melody, and rhyme.
Awesome.
Hopefully this doesn't start right away. Yep. Well, I'll put you back on for a second. Whenever I wrote harmony, melody, and rhyme, the idea was about people who can do stuff, put things together, to collaborate and create a platform for music, culture, arts. Very similar, pretty much what you are doing with Lockdown Cafe.
Yeah.
I never thought this was going to ever turn into a song or anything. I just wrote it and went, I'm going to throw this out. Al Mac got involved, Justice Kane got involved, and now it's moving over to it's going to be available on Lockdown Cafe. One thing, so I think it's very fitting to play it that because it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually achieved that. The other thing I will say is, for anybody that is putting forth the types of opinions that we have, what we all do is we all throw a stone into we all throw a pebble into the pond, and it's the important thing is not how large the ripple you create is. Nobody's ever going to make a tidal wave to take everything away. The important bit is the distance that ripple travels, and we can do a lot of small, insignificant things will eventually add to something. So you go.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Sorry. Don't forget the second album, Pizza and Ping Pong, early 2025. Honestly, that could well happen. Right, I'm going to play the outro and then we'll say our goodbyes. And take that back to that. And that.
Hello, This is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance. You are not alone, and we shall walk this journey together. What about you, chum? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. Let us gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. For from that grand house they tried to burn down, there's gold in the ashes if you look around. Let us gather together those that can perform, then from those scarred timbers build our own platform. Build our own platform. We will sing words of wisdom. We will sing for all time. Harmony, melody, and rhyme. We descended from minstrels in old days of yore. We will create a culture as we did once before. Forced to stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. Forced to stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? We will sing words of wisdom. We will sing sing harmony, melody, rhyme. Harmony, melody, and rhyme. So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. I have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. Never realized you could not kill a dream. So we will gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. You're talking to 42. What about you, chum? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. Sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people, harmony, melody, and rhyme. We will sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people with the ancient trilogy of harmony, melody, rhyme. never realized you cannot kill a dream. You cannot kill a dream. And we shall walk this journey together.
Okay, everybody. Robyn's been Robyn from Courage is a Cure. Get on it, go follow her. She puts out good contact. I've been 42, and you lot in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Thank you. Good night. God bless. I'm out of here.